We'll jump straight in, fellas. Good summer so far? Enjoyed it?
Better than last year.
Gaffer, you've been on about 14 holidays, haven't you?
Summer, great summer for me. It seemed like, I suppose although it wasn't, the last few summers have been really, really congested, probably since after COVID. Certainly from my perspective, when Hartlepool, no off-season. Then we have obviously the National League season where we've had more of a break, but it didn't seem like much. Previous season, the playoff obviously final was really late, and then we had a quick turnaround and a disappointment. This season, thankfully, well, last season, winning the league gave us 2 months off. So yeah, I managed to get away. Kate will tell me it was 5 holidays because us going away as a staff and me going away on a pro licence probably count. In fact, this is probably like the 6th one she'll count it as because it's not work. But it's been a really good summer.
Are you guys able to like switch off in the summer? You're not going away and shuffling around the salt and pepper pots tactically. Are you able to switch off from it all, or?
Yeah. This year I did, definitely. Obviously, because we finished so well in the last season, obviously winning the league title. I think
we do. Us two get more chance to switch off.
Yeah, probably do. Yeah, we probably do. I think the gaffer probably can't, but I think me and Dave can. I had a great summer. Went away with the family, some friends. Like I said, it was probably our first time we've had a big chunk of holiday over the last few years. So, but you still get the last few weeks.
Yeah.
You start getting a little bit bored, don't you? You start thinking, I could get back in now. Need something to get into. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I mean, you came back to Carrington early. I mean, are you able to switch off at all? I imagine it's a bit different for you, as they say.
It is. I suppose recruiting-wise over the summer is important. But to be fair, the way the setup is here, that Simon takes a lot of the heat, if you like, during the summer. We have recruiting meetings pretty much through the season every week. So it's I suppose an ongoing process. But then once I suppose you try and spin plates as much as possible, as much as agents and players will try and spin plates around where they're trying to send players. We'll be doing that. We'll be doing the same. And Simon takes up all of the nitty-gritty in terms of getting those deals across the line and getting them done to allow the players to come in. So it's certainly much better than it has been previously, because I suppose from the levels that I've managed at and the clubs I've been at, it's been largely down to me around recruitment. So then it's me talking to agents and me trying to sort deals and all that sort of thing. I can't say I'm disappointed that I don't have to do that anymore.
We can hear Steve Bellis there somewhere in the background.
He's always somewhere.
He's got his trophy with him. Shock.
It's obviously been a big summer of sport as well. We're in Spain, probably can't not talk about the Euros. A lot of debate about England and criticism over the performances maybe, but what did you make of England's tournament overall?
It's disappointing how it finished, wasn't it? I think started slow and then you get a little bit of false hope, which is sort of almost normal, that, a little bit of false hope. So then obviously how it pans out and finishes, you're always a little bit disappointed with it at the end. Do you have a bit of sympathy for Gareth Southgate? I mean, come so close again and obviously now stood down since.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all football managers at heart, aren't we? The only difference is some of us do it as a job, and others are quite happy to sit away from it and give their opinion. And football's based on opinions, so every single person will have had a different outlook on what that should look like. I was away, like I say, I was in Germany for some of the games, and had access to some of the England camp whilst they were away. No one knows what that situation's like. No one knows what things are going on behind closed doors. But to come so close again, if you like, and not get across the line will obviously be really, really disappointing. But I think, as it's been said, in time, people will probably reflect and look at the job that he's done with that England team, and all of a sudden now there'll be pressure on the FA or whoever it is that's going to make the decision, and then the person coming into the job's got big boots to fill, because there will be increased pressure that the next tournament becomes massively important.
Any thoughts on who that should be, which direction you think they should go in? you two would take Klopp, presumably.
Yeah, I don't know which way they. I don't know which way they go. It's
a difficult one, isn't it?
It's tough. And again, even with that, in that decision, what you're gonna split the fan base, aren't you? The difference with an England job is you're gonna split the country, and it won't exactly be half. But some people will say what a rubbish appointment. Some people will say what a brilliant appointment. Except if it's if it's a Klopp or a Guardiola or something like that, which potentially is unrealistic. Someone's going to go into a job and I suppose have an understanding really quickly of what that England job looks like, because it can be very unforgiving at times.
It's going to be interesting which way they go. Like, really interesting.
Bringing it back to Pinatar, obviously we're just off the back of the game against Derby. How's the week been as a whole?
It's been good. It's been challenging in its own little ways, hasn't it? I mean, we just seem to pick up little niggles everywhere we go. But I think it's a great week, great facilities, great weather obviously, and the lads work hard. So I think it's been a good week so far. I thought the game today was good against a good team in a higher division. I think even if you ask them, I think they got a good game out of us as well. I think some pre-season games you can play a local team and the intensity and the standard won't be so high, but I think today was very good for both teams, so hopefully that puts us in good stead.
More enjoyable for you guys than the players, presumably.
I think it's been important for the players to get to know each other as well, hasn't it? We're bringing so many new players in. That's the best part. It's an opportunity where the players are with each other 24/7. So building those relationships and getting to know each other, and staff getting to know them as well. So I think that's a big positive that we've took out this week.
Seems to have got louder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The tables are all around. Seems to be getting louder and louder. The more time they spend together, which is great. So as you said there, it's very important that they get together.
Tonight will be good as well. We'll go and have a meal together. We've eaten with each other obviously every day, but we'll go out off site and have a meal and have a few drinks, and you'll see a large proportion of the lads won't be drinkers, and the staff will make up for that. But
And the media.
you'll see, you see different characters, different personalities in different environments, and that's important. Regarding the week and the game, the week's been, like I said, the week's been good. Speaking to Derby, they're similar to us in the fact that because of the heat, they've not, and it's excessive heat this week. It's been really, really hot. They've not been able to train as they would have hoped to be able to train. So speaking to Paul, they've trained less. They think they are not as fit as what they need to be, but they've got the majority of people fit. So it's that catch-22, isn't it? In terms of, pre-season's about pushing. Like I say, we've had in our instance, a 2-month break, and we're 3 weeks away from the first game of the season, and the start of the season is really important, and you're probably not going to beat your fittest until maybe mid-September, but you're still going to win games between the start of August and the middle of September. So the stuff that we've done on the training pitch has been great. There's been bits of it that we've seen in the games. I suppose the frustration from my perspective is that because of the injuries we've had and we've picked up, we've not been able to stick with the shape that we'd like to look at and have a real good solid look at that we've been working on during the week in training. But we'll take loads of positives from what we've done this week and look forward to what next week brings.
From the team bonding aspect of it, are you all happy with the roommates that you've ended up with this week, out of interest?
Yeah,
on my own, brilliant.
And with Nick. Nick's good. Nick's fine, yeah.
Yeah. Clint?
I'm happy, yeah. I've known Mangs a long time, so I know how to deal with him.
If they've got any issues about roommates, that's on me, because I like to say, I made a conscious decision to make sure staff was easy enough. It's sort of like, who doesn't run a room with him or him? You sort of split them off. Yeah, Yoppers with Yanni. Yeah, Yoppers with Yanni looking after him.
Got the short straw.
Players, like I say, I made sure that was a new player with a player that had been here previously. And it's important that you do mix, you get to know the other people, and there's no better way of doing that than listening to them snore and fart and all them sorts of things, which I'm sure they've
Plenty of that
this week.
If you were to pick a player to share with, who would that be? And who wouldn't you want to?
Oof. Tough question.
It's a good one. Probably. I'd just like to share Woods. He's a nice, calm influence, isn't he? I don't think he'd be getting up to any kind of mischief or shenanigans, you know what I mean, that some of us probably do. So I'd probably say him, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone you wouldn't share with, except if you were
not on camera.
Not on
camera, you can't say.
Well, no, you can say Ben, because Ben is renowned for
big snorer,
horrendous snorer. Yeah. So even on away trips in the season, Ben takes the decision to get his own room and not have to burden himself on somebody else, which is good of him. So he'd be probably the one that you wouldn't want to share with, because you wouldn't get much sleep. I think the other ones are all
after a drink, I know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, but I'm not going to say him.
Should ask us that question tomorrow as well, after tonight.
I mean, how different are these kind of trips now from when you guys were players as well? Obviously, no social media back then. It feels like, you went away with Joey Barton at El Tarat, so presumably different back then.
Yeah, not so really. As a player, you were so focused on what you had to do that week. You needed to work hard, needed to run, and then if you were lucky enough and you had a decent manager, you knew you had a little tipple at the end of that week, didn't you? It was pretty basic, really. Been to some lovely places, been to some absolute horrors as well. But I think this is a great facility and a great week.
I don't think much has changed in terms of what you do when you come away. It would be the same thing. You could look back and go, years ago you'd be out every night, that's not the case. That was a long time ago that was happening. But you work hard, and then at the end of the week you get a chance to relax a little bit and enjoy an evening and doing whatever that is. It's, like I say, some of the lads won't be drinkers, some will have a drink, some might have one drink. It's not, people find ways of socialising in different ways nowadays. But again, the big thing is for everyone to spend time together in a different environment than the hotel, and see some different things when maybe coaching staff are a little bit more relaxed and a little bit looser and that sort of thing, which we're all looking forward to.
I mean, Dave, you've been here a long time now, going back to the National League North days. I mean, the height of pre-season back then was places like Bishop Stortford. I mean, can you believe how far we've come since that?
Yeah, it's totally different. To come away, you've got, as we said before, the facilities are brilliant. We've got everything we need here. So we've got brilliant food, facilities, walking distance to the pitch. Pitch is great, the gym. So if you'd have said a few years ago when we were part-time and training on an AstroTurf for an hour and a half that you're going to go to Spain on a pre-season trip, you'd have laughed. You'd have never thought it was possible. And I think it's making the most of it while we're here. So we want to make the most of time with the lads, but group getting together as well. And the fact that we're able to do it and the club has allowed us to do it is brilliant. It's only going to help us, but yeah, light years away from what it was.
You two obviously have known each other a long time, going back to Tranmere as players. What are your memories of those days and playing next to each other back then?
I used to get on the end of a long throw every now and then and score a few goals, which was nice. Which was always nice. Great times, great times. I mean, proper togetherness in the dressing room, and I think every game we went out into, we battled hard, didn't we? Give everything we got. I mean, some of the cup runs we had were just fantastic. The cup runs, I mean, the teams we played at home. Obviously, then we get to the League Cup final, which was absolutely fantastic.
We'll get onto that in a minute.
We won't touch on that. Get the gaffer's thoughts on that, not mine, obviously. No, I loved it. Great time. Good club as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a really good group. I suppose we came on the back of a change in what the Tranmere squad looked like. So there was a lot of senior pros in that team, and it changed a little bit. And me and Clint got in and initially played either side of John McGreal, going back to probably Newcastle away was one of the early games in the FA Cup, and then spent time obviously together in a 3 and playing in a 4. But we spoke about it only earlier this week, just saying around the information you were given when you played back then was minimal. It was like, go and figure out the game, and it was very much player led. And I think we had a conversation having a beer the other night talking about managers that are the biggest influence on your career. And I think going back to when you were younger and played, although they've had an influence, it didn't seem a ridiculously big influence in some instances, because certainly the dressing room we were in was led by the players and some of the senior ones, which was brilliant. It was, especially coming through when you're young, it was a bit of a sort of sink or swim environment. If you couldn't deal with that, then whether you're a good player or not, you were going to get found out. And football's changed completely from where that was. But we had some, as Clint said, we had some brilliant years together. I've got lots of shirts that I've got framed but aren't on the wall, which Kate again will tell me about. Clint, not so much. He doesn't have his in the loft.
Mine I'm not allowed mine on the walls. I'll be open and honest. They're not nice enough, so mine are in the loft.
But great days, yeah, great days.
And you mentioned managers. Obviously, you're both Liverpool fans and played under John Aldridge during your time there. What was that like for you guys?
Well, for me, because he gave me my debut, so he'll always have like a special place in my heart, because he gave me my chance to progress and have a football career that I did. And I tested him a few times. I definitely tested him a few times. I had a few red cards and a few instances where he could have said, on your bike, son. But he stuck by me, he showed faith in me, and I'll always be grateful for that. He was passionate, like, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It
was our team. Again, a big thing that always stuck with me. Colin will talk, was my assistant manager for 10 years plus. And obviously Cole played for Stockport, and everywhere, or every time I see him, they used to call us a gang in kits. That's what we sort of were, really. And Aldo was like that, so he was sort of a player. I don't know, would he have played?
I played in his last game, I think.
So he was obviously a player, almost probably was, I suppose, a little bit similar to me, really. Almost forced into the role at Tranmere as player manager, because he'd been there so long. Had a dressing room that had some experienced players in, some international players that were fantastic for the younger ones. If I took anything off, although it would probably like kicking skips and things like that, because he was like that. He managed as a player. It was about winning, and the frustrations he will have found, having been at Liverpool and been at Sociedad, been at all them clubs, coming down and managing Tranmere and our team that was based around. We had some good players and good players that were undervalued based on the fact that we were a real good team, and we got success over digging in and fighting and being gritty for each other in an environment that was absolutely bouncing and was made for what we were producing. We played some good stuff, but we knew what we were about, and he sort of was the epitome of what that team was, really.
How old were you, Hilly, when you made your debut? How old were you there?
I was 18. Yeah, at Forest. Yeah, Nottingham Forest. Yeah, he took me down on the coach, told me on the coach that I'd be playing, and then I think he said everyone will meet in the bar at 7 o'clock, and I was like, okay, I was going to have a meeting. And he goes to everyone, like, you can have a couple of pints each. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? So it's just a test. So we all had a couple of pints each. And I think he did it just to calm the younger players that were in the squad, their nerves. Who did we play against? Van Hooijdonk, Campbell. I think we got a 2-2 result that day as well. So, yeah, good.
It worked, yeah.
It did, yeah. Just different things, isn't it? You know what I mean?
You've not been pouring pints down Ashton Mead's neck all summer, have you?
I don't know, Dave, have you?
Wasn't there quite an intense rivalry with Bolton during that time as well? A few cup games as well. What was that like?
I think it was him and Sam was the big rivalry. I'm not sure why, and the clubs were at the same level, but they were going that way, and Tranmere were. So they'd brought in some of the Scandinavian players and stuff like that, and I suppose our way of going around it was, let's see if the Scandinavian players like English football a little bit and sort of try. But it got a bit nuts. it got to the point where they were turning up at Tranmere, changed on the bus, wouldn't use the changing rooms and all sorts of things going on. We were trying to move the advertising boards in when we went and played in the League Cup semi-final. That was probably the bit that sort of probably tipped it a little bit. So we went there, we won 1-0, you scored the winner, we won 1-0 away from home, and then in the game at home we were 2-0 up after 20 minutes, 25 minutes. The game was done really. And then they obviously went on and went to the Premier League, and Tranmere struggled not from that point on, but not too far after that. They went different directions. But yeah, there was certainly some animosity there between those two. And I'm to this day, I don't know where that came from.
You obviously did go on and reach the League Cup final one year at Wembley. Incredible achievement for Tranmere, obviously. Dave, I'll let you tell the story of that one, maybe.
Yeah, it was. That's one of the days that sticks with me forever, because you go into that game and listen. We can both look back with not with regret, because I was marking Matty Elliott and he scored 2 goals, so I can go but I don't remember a thing about that day. I don't remember walking up the steps to get my medal. I don't remember anything about that day. So it's like the only thing I remember is that we went, after the game, we went back to a hotel in West London, and the club put on a do for all friends and family, and it was a casino night, and it was a brilliant night after a disappointment. But that's the first time I've experienced, I wouldn't say grown men, but international footballers in tears in a dressing room after the game, because we went into that game, as much as we'd beaten all the teams we'd beaten and got there, we're massive underdogs. We thought we were going to win.
Yeah,
we thought we were winning, it was a great place to be. But obviously we had the disappointment. I mean, there was all of our sides of it. There's Clint's side of it, but like I say, as a group, we had to go from that game. I suppose said everything about us really as a team. We went from that game on the Sunday. We travelled home to a civic reception in Birkenhead on the Monday. We then travelled back down to Portsmouth on the Tuesday. Played Portsmouth on the Wednesday night and beat them 2-1 at Fratton Park. That was what our group was really. We got over that disappointment and sort of dealt with it. Clint's one, a tackle.
She said you weren't going to mention it.
There's been, you know what, over there, and he knows what and he's big enough to sort of go, hold my hands up, I was wrong there. He did nothing. Essentially, there were one tackle that was a nothing tackle and got a yeah, and the second one, it was Emmy Heskey, I think, had rolled and then just hit the deck. It was never.
What I forget was there a change of ref, wasn't there? Was there a change of ref during the game?
Oh, I don't
there
know.
was something.
I don't
think there was. I'm pretty sure there was like a change of assistant or something. And I don't know if he felt maybe a bit of pressure there as well, where if it stayed the same, then it might have been different. But I was freaking distraught.
It was nothing.
I was distraught after that.
It was never.
It's a long walk back.
And that was the thing. Listen, that was a game against. You talk about what we were as a team at Tranmere. Leicester were that. Leicester were a team. You know what I mean? It was Elliott. It was Taggart, Savage, Neil Lennon, Muzzy Izzet. I think Tony Cotty, Emma Heskey. It was a team of almost like what we were in the division they were in. They were in the top division. They were better, and probably they were the one team that were equipped to deal with what we wanted to do, as well as being a good players. And they had some really good players that were, again, probably undervalued in the team they were playing in.
To be fair, Clint, 2014, you go back there with QPR.
Yep, thank God.
Go down to 10 men again, not you this time, but you win that time, and that little bit of redemption for you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it's interesting to speak, listening there, how you didn't remember going up the steps. So obviously, I didn't get to even do that because I was in the tunnel, and that was one of my big regrets. Is as a kid, you think, oh, I'd love to be at Wembley, play at Wembley, and then walk up the steps and lift the trophy. So to get that kind of, I know we didn't lift the trophy, but even to get that taken away from me was hard. But then to go back as a player later in my career and be the captain and lift the trophy at Wembley was kind of, at least I can put it to bed. Obviously, some of the lads might think differently, but at least I kind of, a bit of redemption on my part to doing what I wanted to do, which was great.
It's interesting when you talk about Wembley and not remembering anything from that day. Was it similar for the Carlisle game? Is it different because you were a manager? I mean, you obviously kept the picture up at Carrington. What do you have memories of that day?
For me, from that point on, that was a sort of turning point that said I'll make sure, because it's easy to say, oh yeah, you'll only remember when you win and things like that. I think you have to savour those days and remember them in good or bad, because you've got to that position for a reason. I've been back to Wembley twice in play, and the thing with playoffs is that if you lose a playoff final, then you don't go up and you get nothing for it. You're off the pitch, and I've been there twice and done that now. The one we did win was at Bristol, and there was nowhere to walk up. They give you the trophy on the pitch anyway. But to go back there, I suppose the week after the Salford game in the FA Trophy final, win the FA Trophy final, for me was great to be able to walk up and lift the trophy. Like as Clint says, a boyhood thing would be to walk up the steps and lift the trophy at Wembley. But no, I absolutely remember everything I can about all them other experiences. The Salford one for me was really tough, because we started the game well, conceded from a set piece, a deflected, one of our lads cleared it, it's another one on the backside and drops down and they score. Then scored a poor goal, but we end up getting done from 3 crosses. If you put a cross in, went straight in. But we were 3-0 down with half an hour to go. And you stood on the side of a pitch at Wembley, probably going, this is done, like all it. So I think in that moment you almost get to reflect in I say half empty stadium, 90% empty stadium at Wembley, looking at your team out there, looking to try and find the answers to salvage a season. So yeah, that was a weird scenario. Obviously the Carlisle game is completely the opposite of that, and you're embroiled in a penalty shootout and you're a moment away. I suppose I certainly, and I think we've spoken about this as staff, will always look back on that game and the Aki moment where he has the header and the goalie's gone to collect it, and essentially it's an open goal. That makes it 2-0 on upwards of 60 minutes, 65 minutes. I think at that point the game's done. But it shows the margins between success and failure.
Better to win the league anyway, though, isn't it?
Much better.
Going back to your playing days, obviously I think you joined County around 2002. Dave, you joined the Centre of Excellence in around 2003, similar time. Difficult time for the club. I think you probably joined just as the decline had already set in at that point. What was it like back then, coming into the club at that time?
From a player's perspective, from my perspective, the player's perspective, it was tough, because listen, we've spoken about this season or this off-season for us being a little bit transitional and going a little bit younger in terms of what our squad looks like. Excuse me. The club back then were going younger, but going very young. I was brought in as one of the experienced ones at 20, maybe 26. And we were, as a group, we were replacing Colin and Flinney and Tony and all the players that had been there for so long and done so well. The club was going in a different direction. I suppose not by choice, based on getting to a certain division, based on what the club wanted to do in terms of reducing costs and cutting costs and sell shorts, coming and playing at the ground, the change rooms being changed and all them, and it was very, very messy. But the group that we had, again, you don't get time in football. If that group had been given time, then it would have had a real chance. You got it. I think that I turned up in the January window. I think we got relegated in late February.
Yeah.
I'd probably played about 5 games and the club was relegated. They were on the 20 points or something. So that was inevitable. The club were going down. I think when you do go down, there'll be instances where the club is set to bounce straight back, and there'll be instances where the club hasn't reached rock bottom yet. The club hasn't sort of panned out to where it would be, and that was the case with Stockport. But if you went through individually the players that were there and what players went on to achieve, you'd go, there was some really good players and players that would have gone on and made the club not just an awful lot of money, but over time would have got the club hopefully back to where it was. Certainly it wouldn't have gone the other way and spiralled out of control in terms of what relegations look like.
Dave, on the other side of it, what was it like?
I think it's almost gone sort of like full circle almost. So then it had the centre of excellence in the training ground, and there was young players were getting into the first team, certainly for the years afterwards, because they got opportunities to then drop solo where you've not got a centre of excellence on the academy and you've got no homegrown players, coming through. And to get to the sort of lowest depth where you're part-time and just training a couple of nights a week from a championship club to do that's crazy really. But now it feels like it has turned around and it's going back the other way, and the club's in a better position now, and sort of long term, and the sort of infrastructure it's got is fantastic. But I think to get so high and then drop so low, fans probably wonder or worry that they'll never get back to those days and never get an opportunity to experience out of the games and the oppositions are going to play. Whereas now it feels like that period's done, and now it's success and building and getting better and better, and it's exciting looking forward to it rather than worried about what the future can hold. So I think it's exciting for everybody now.
How excited are you all by the academy set up now and the infrastructure that's being put in place? Because there's obviously been this shift towards younger players in terms of transfers, but presumably the long-term goal is that we produce those players ourselves, and it seems like it's making good progress so far in that regard. Yeah,
that was part of, I suppose, Mark's plan and Mark's reasoning for buying the football club, because of the location, with big Premier League football clubs surrounding it really. And everyone knows that clubs release more players than they sign. That's the way football works. But we have a really good catchment area where we are to get players in early and hopefully show what you need to show is you need to show that in order for that to kick off, you need to show that there's a pathway through to the first team. And probably in the last 3 years, that pathway, unless a young player has been absolutely exceptional, there's a balance between player development and ultimately success, and the player development was down here. The required success was here. That will level off, and eventually, again, depending on where we go and what Mark's plans are, that might go the other way. There are clubs that are like that. So this player development model in terms of sustainability is higher than what success in terms of promotions and trophies is. I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but it'll certainly balance off. And the aim is to make sure that there are players coming through. There will be, like I say, there will be opportunities if players are good enough. We've just got to make sure that we provide them with the opportunities to improve, the opportunities to get better. I mean, we've got a couple with us this week from the academy, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but the exciting part of that is probably a couple of years down the line, because you've got players in younger. A lot of these lads that are with us, I mean, Joe came in from Oldham and Jid did, and Shay from a different club, but most of them were on a football development programme, and were given the opportunity. Cody, football development, Ashton similarly, yet they've made an impact on the first team, and will continue to do so. But if you get them in the process or in the system earlier, then them playing as a group hopefully will have a big impact as we move forward. Then moving to Carrington will absolutely help, and up being on the same site. So things are in place to make sure that keeps rolling forward.
I think we've seen that already, haven't we, this pre-season, where the lads have had more opportunities to come up and train, because they're literally on the pitch next to us, so they can come and join in. And
Jay Gardner, of course,
yeah,
his chance at Chester and players like that.
Get opportunities.
Dave, you came into the first team set up really under Alan Lord and Phil Brown back in those days. I mean, you spoke about clubs plateauing, and that probably was that period where we stabilised a little bit and obviously laid down the foundations for what went on. What was it like at that time? I mean, you could write a book on some of the stories, couldn't you? But
I think Lodi he does get the credit now, but he didn't at the time of how tough a job it was. I think because the club's so big, everyone just expects National League North you'll be able to win every game and go back up, but it wasn't like that. I think Lodi did a brilliant job stopping a rot. You know, if he'd have gone out of that division, who knows what might have happened. So I think the fact it was tough financially in terms of wages, attracting players, facilities, part-time, everything like that, it was tough, but I think he did a brilliant job stabilising it and stopping a rot, and then it took a little bit longer then to build it and develop it, but I think the job Lodi did was, you know, it's really important to where the club is now.
You then obviously went to work with Jim at Northwich, and Jim then brought you back, which led to winning the National League North title in 2019. That really did lay the foundations for Mark coming in the year after as well. What are your memories of that team and that season?
I think, like you were saying about remembering not quite going to Wembley, but you'll always remember special days like that.
You should have won the FA Trophy as well.
Yeah.
Should have got to that final.
We won't mention the semi-final and that. No, I think you won't forget days like that. None eaten away, you'll remember it always, and it may be that kick-starts it, that makes the club more, you know, approachable, and there's an opportunity there to be in the National League and an opportunity to then go full-time. So without that first promotion, you maybe don't get the latest success and what happens after that. But personally, yeah, we'll always remember that. It was a brilliant season for me. You know, the players still keep in touch with some of the players. You know, it was a great season, and to finish like that and ultimately be crowned champions and get promotion, you never forget those feelings. We spoke recently about this season and the success from just the season just gone, and the lads have been talking about aims for this season. They want to make the memories. You know, there's moments like that why everyone's involved in football, to get success, and there's nothing better than at the end of the season all that hard work, getting success. So yeah, loads of good memories from that season, and in particular last day of the season, definitely.
You three have all obviously worked together for about 3 years now. For you two in particular, I mean, in the long run, is going into management something you've ever considered? I mean, you were joint favourite for the Tranmere job with Rafa Benitez a few years ago.
Bloody hell.
So, you
must be on a bad side.
Okay, could you see that fit for the both of them?
When I spoke to I spoke to Clint when I got him to go up to Hartlepool with me, and we went for a chat and a conversation and a coffee around him coming up. But at the time, yeah, he was absolutely wanted to be a manager, and so much so that again when I came to Stockport, and there's been other things since. I've had conversations to say, listen, if you fancy, I did exactly the same. I was when I was playing at Colwyn Bay, I was applying for jobs everywhere to be a manager, getting binned off by everybody, not getting a response. Didn't mind anything else. And you hope that some of them teams now have still got that letter and go, shit, we should have replied. But you then have decisions to make, don't you? So Neil Young went to Chester. I could have gone to Chester with him and played, and the opportunity was there to be player manager at Colwyn Bay, which I took. Clint might have a decision somewhere along the line to make it. Like I say, it could have been when I was coming here. He might have thought, I quite fancy that. I quite like that 3-hour hike up to Hartlepool, and so I mean, at some point, I went into Hartlepool. One of my one of the things they asked me to do was mentor Tony Sweeney, to be manager there. Now, I had no issue at all with that. I want to help people as much as possible. My job as a manager is to get the best out of our staff. My staff are brilliant, and I know. You said it before that sort of I'll get plaudits and stuff, but I couldn't do what I do without these lot, in terms of I think we're really strong in that. But my job's to make them better and give them the opportunities to be able to go and spread their wings at some point and take a role on themselves. And I think again, different characters, but absolutely you'd hope certainly from Clint's perspective, what he's learned, the manager's worked under, and what he's done over his career. Yeah, at some point, go and get a job.
There's no rush.
And take me as your assistant.
Still unbeaten as caretaker manager.
Yeah.
5 games and still unbeaten. So
100%.
It's fun. You never say never, but it's at the moment you just want to be whatever your role is. You want to do it to the best you can.
Sometimes your things change, don't they? Sometimes you'll see. So I did a physio degree because I thought I want to get an opportunity to stay in full-time football. I love that environment. A waste of time, really. I've not really used it apart from being able to spy on some of our lads that might think they're injured or not. But you'll think you'll have a blue sky thinking that a road's going to go like that and it's going to go really, really straight. Like I say, with Sweens, I had the conversation with Sweens. Sweens was like, I don't want to manage anyway. I don't know why they were asking you to mentor me. I don't want to manage. He sees where his strength is at the moment. Now that might change in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. Might be the same with Clint, might be the same with Dave. You don't know what opportunities present themselves along the way, and you've got to be reactive to what that looks like. At the moment, we're like I say, I think we're in a great place. It's a brilliant environment to work in. We've got not just us. There's a bigger bunch of staff that get on really, really well together. We can challenge each other. We can tell each other if we think that they're wrong in a comfortable way, and that is a huge part of the success that we've had.
As you say, you started your managerial career at Colwyn Bay. You then go to Fylde, which is where our paths cross again. That was a bit intense at the time as well, the rivalry that developed between the two clubs. What was that like from your point of view?
Yeah, I think that was it was tough. It's weird. You always want to go back to I suppose your former clubs as a player and be remembered. Not remembered fondly but I think the time I had at Stockport was a bad time for the football club, and I moved on pretty quickly. It just so happened that then pretty much every game I played for Fylde we beat Stockport, so I don't think that went particularly well. I do remember you winning one out of about the 15, but no, that probably didn't bode well on me, sort of thing, in terms of.
I mean, I used to have a season ticket behind the dugout, and you got, not from me, but you got some stick.
Yeah, and listen, it was fine. I think as a manager, it's again, without sounding the wrong way, it's great to get stick, to be able to just turn around and just smile at someone, isn't it? That's the ultimate, if you like. But I understood why. And hence why I'd said, in terms of coming back, although I didn't feel I had anything to prove, it's nice to be sort of sat here now with a little bit of success behind us, and as best as possible, they forget about my 2 years as a player here, or however long it was, as quickly as possible, and remember things for the current.
I mean, obviously that was in the National League North. The club was on its knees a little bit. From the outside looking in, what was your view on the club at the time and how it had fallen and what was going wrong, I suppose? Yeah,
really tough, because when you're on the outside, you're focusing on what you're doing. And from our side of things at Fylde, we were completely different. A club that when I went there was 300 watching, and you increase that by 70% and you get to where you are, and a Stockport, a club where there was 10,000 people watching, that all of a sudden drops down to 3,000-4,000, whatever it was. So a huge decline, but still competing on a level playing field in terms of the league. But I suppose it shows the importance of infrastructure, really, and a plan, because although Fylde was a tiny club compared to what Stockport was, the infrastructure and the plan that was in place allowed us to go full time quicker, allowed us to take players from Stockport that you'd never normally have thought was the case, and there was an attraction for people to come away from Stockport to go to Fylde, without it sounding condescending, which should never really have happened. But the plan that was in place, the ambition of the club, and the training facilities and the full-time nature is always going to be appealing to people, because people and players quite naturally will want to try and step up and get as high as they can, as quick as they can. That's the aim. So yeah, it was strange. Then obviously we went up, and then you mentioned about the FA Trophy semi-final. Again, that was a weird one, because the game, two-legged games are odd. They're just strange, aren't they? The game at Fylde was a terrible. It was a terrible game. Yeah. It was 0-0, and then we obviously came to Edgeley, and I think Niall scored early, didn't he? We then we equalised, went in front, and then I think Ash scored like
right near the end,
2 minutes from the end or something.
Right near the end.
And then we got the kick-off and just went pass,
We didn't touch the ball after that, did we?
pass,
Reed,
goal.
wasn't it?
Yeah, Reedy scored. And it was brilliant for us because it was the first bit that meant we were going to Wembley, and we were still in with a chance of winning the national, getting promoted for the National League. So that sort of ticked one up in terms of Wembley. The one thing I remember about that day was you hadn't won the league by that point, so it was bully going round and getting people up and sort of trying to get players on their feet and stuff, because that's like I say, the opportunity to play at Wembley for a player's career comes round maybe once if you're very, very lucky. So that
I think you see it as a missed opportunity, don't you?
Yeah,
You get
that can be
close,
sort of,
will you get another chance?
and that then could detract from what you're doing in the league, and all of a sudden, although you've not got to an FA Trophy final, if you then don't get promoted that season, it becomes a double whammy. So it's how quickly can you get over that experience, or use that experience as motivation, as we have, to make sure you go and achieve what will be the ultimate aim at the end of the season for them. With Stockport now, when there's a plan in place, and when owners, as in Mark's instance, went to, we're going to hit the championship in 7 years, people want you to fail, and people don't like that. So, and again, you'll have the Wrexham situation. People want you to fail. People are probably jealous is probably the wrong word, but wish it would be their club. Because who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? I mean, as Dave said there, when Stockport are a National League North club, no one ever thinks that you're going to get back to League One or get back to the Championship. You need somebody to come in with a plan, with some money and with ambition to say, we're going to do this. And that's what Mark's done. And that's what is happening at Wrexham. And that's what happened at Fylde at the time. So there is a bit of animosity around what that looks like, because everybody wants things to not run smoothly. We're part of that now, in terms of not with everyone. I think we would, as best as possible, and some moments have probably not been the case, but try and stay below the radar, and try and not make a fool of yourself, because you don't want to stick your head above the parapet,
to be shot down.
Someone will whack it off. So that takes some getting used to a little bit.
We did win a couple of games, didn't we?
It was a couple.
What was it like going up against the Dave Challinor team?
I think that we just said there before about, we were seeing Fylde, who were, no disrespect to them, a smaller club, but they were progressing through the leagues and they were gone full time, and they were attracting players that we couldn't. So it's that's where you want to be, that's where you want to get to. I think Fylde was sort of renowned for being that great football team, but 4-3-3 really. Loads of football played, brilliant football, expansive football played out the back, loads of goals, and it's almost, that's what you want to be. So you know, there's that little bit of, we won't be like that, we won't be able to play like that, and we couldn't. So yeah, it's not as much as you remember the wins, you don't remember the defeats.
We helped because we went full time.
Well, we got Ben and Lloydie, didn't we?
As a
Ben and Lloydie, that was a nice.
You know what I mean? So
that was a nice little parting gift.
Yeah, we'll ignore Lewis Montrose, Scott Duxbury, Danny Rowe. You know, there was a lot of players that obviously crossed over, but
Crosby as well, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Crosby played for both.
I guess the two though that stand out obviously is Lloydie, in terms of obviously came to us and really shone there, and Danny Rowe, who probably did the opposite, was okay with us, went to you and scored goals for fun. I mean, what are your memories of those two players?
Lloydie was just perfect fit, right time. You know, so you sometimes get a player that just clicks for him. So he'd left, obviously, was going full time, came to us, and it was just right time, right moment for him.
I had Lloydie
like him, it was a spark.
So I took Lloydie from Southport to Colwyn Bay when I was playing there, and then took him to Fylde. The hard bit of Fylde for Lloydie was that we played 4-3-3, and we had Michael Barnes, Richie Allen, and Lloydie. Other good wingers within that, we had Jimmy McCarthy, we had Paul Jarvis, who were all brilliant. But those three would all score 20 goals a season. And Lloydie, quite rightly, got a little bit sort of disappointed that he wasn't playing all of the time, which I completely get. We're all like, he was really, really enthusiastic and wanted to play, wanted to score, and he was like a bit of played like a Tasmanian. That was like everything was like 100 mile an hour with Lloydie, but he'd score goals. So the difference when he came to Stockport was that he became
the main man.
A big fish in a small pond.
Played every week,
so
he knew he was going to play every week.
Exactly, and he flourished in that. And I suppose you've only got to look at what happened after that. So Lloydie then got his opportunity to, I think he went Salford first off, or Peterborough first off. So he went back to probably what was not bit part, but wasn't able to get a run and know he was going to play all the time, where he could be free and he could gain confidence from doing that. And that's what he's like. He is a sort of rhythm player and want to get into that comfort zone. What he would do when he was in the comfort zone is he wouldn't then drop his performances. He'd still be the same, but he just knew he could, I suppose, make them mistakes and try things and know that he wasn't looking over his shoulder at someone that was waiting to come in behind him, and that was the I suppose the difference. Rowie was a strange one, because Rowie he came and played a pre-season. He was obviously Blackpool, Lytham, Thornton based. Asked could he come in on trial. We played a pre-season game against Chorley, and it was he maybe played 45 minutes, and didn't really do anything. So we were like, well, he's like, can I come back and play another game? Can I come back? So we played Bolton. He came back and played another game and played half an hour. And I'm like, listen, if that's what you do in the half an hour, and it was different because Rowie was like horizontal. I wouldn't say he didn't run round, but when he got into his rhythm, he did have to run round. But he showed a little bit of art in him because he had everything. 6'2", unbelievably struck the ball ridiculously well with both feet. Was good in the air, all them bits. Technically fantastic. So okay, well we'll give you the deal based on what I just saw for that half an hour, and from that point on he was just phenomenal. Machine, I've never, and I've played high. I've never seen anybody strike a ball so well with both feet. Some
of the goals he scores from the distance and the range of free kick at edge of the yard,
ridiculous. And everyone would always say, you know what I mean, don't dive in, he'll chop it, don't dive in, he'll chop it, but he'll chop it and he'll chop it and he'll chop it. The problem with that is that from a defender is if he chopped onto his left, he'd smash it in the top corner. If he chopped onto his right, he'd smash it and he'd chop about 15 times and still stick it in there. Again, I suppose it got to the season that we in the National League North, he scored 47 in the league and 3 in the FA Cup. We got 50 goals, which was absolutely phenomenal. But he got 30 goals a season. I think his record at Fylde will be close to 200, maybe 150 or 200 goals in 300 games. Something's crazy. And he deserved his opportunity, and I think he's the prime example of when football teams and football managers and recruitment teams will look at everything a player can't do rather than what they can do, because you're like, what does Danny Rose when it was? He just scores goals. He just smashes goals in everywhere. I had always had this conversation with him. Said, what happens when that stops? What happens when you're not scoring goals? You're going like, you got to have a little bit more, and that was probably the reason that he didn't get the opportunities that he should have had higher up. And since then, again, I'm still in touch with some of the lads at Fylde, but obviously he did get an opportunity. He had a chance to go to Cheltenham when I think it was Mo Isa got sold to Bristol City. So there's movements there that didn't happen. He got a little bit disappointed. He moved on eventually, but didn't go to or didn't reach the levels that he could at the higher level. If that's the right terminology. And then obviously had the issue with a heart problem. Whilst he was, sure, where was that? Was it Chesterfield?
Chesterfield. Yeah.
And then I don't think he's played anymore, which again really sad. But had some great memories, great moments. I think it's all about free kicks. Like the free kick that sticks out for me is he scored the win at Wembley. It was a 35-yard whipper that the keepers.
Orient, was it?
Yeah, the keepers. The balls hit the net and come back out before the keeper's dives. Unreal strike. But yeah, two players that are around about the same time where had big impacts. And it probably, like I say, the pathways turned out the best for them.
Clint, I was trying to do some research and find out if you'd played against County in the past. So a Cheshire Senior Cup final in 2016 for Tranmere, playing next to Liam Hogan.
You didn't play? Did you play?
No. 2016?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have done there.
Are you sure?
You sure it's at Clint Hill, yeah?
You were definitely down as playing.
No way.
You were definitely down as playing.
Someone trying to be a ringer of me.
I remember Hogs played it, didn't it?
Hogs played, yeah.
No, I wouldn't have played in that.
That's
Moving on. Did you ever come across County at any other?
I remember playing
point in your
at
career?
Edgeley when
Isle of Man.
Remember Shefki? Oh God, let's not talk about Isle of Man. Yeah. Shefki Coochie.
Yeah.
I think it was there at the time, and always remember it being a great ground and a good team then back then as well. Big Shefki was an absolute nuisance. I played with him at Palace later.
He moved as well. Moro,
Yeah.
I don't know if he moved. So Moro signed at Tranmere when we were both first year pros at the same time. He moved on.
Good memories, like
Club record signing still, Moro. So yeah. Dave, I've seen you get asked this question so many times, so I'll direct it to these two. 7 promotions. What's the secret to that success? You guys work with him every day. You never seem able to answer it when the press ask you it. I'll leave it to you two.
good players.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good players, good stuff. Done. Next question. Now, obviously, it's a good manager. Freaking hell, good manager. Even go back to where he talks about, am I at one time might be a manager? Yeah, probably. I would like to. Obviously, you need the opportunity, but I've learned so much over the past 2.5, 3 maybe.
3 years.
3 years. I've learned so much that I didn't even know about. So I can see why he's been successful. Very intense, which you have to be if you want to be chasing the right.
I can vouch for that.
At the right end of the table. But I think he's fair. I think he's very fair, and he'll be honest, but very fair. And I think that's all you can ask as a player and a staff. You know where you stand, and you know where you need to improve. So I'm not surprised he has, and hopefully there's a couple more left in your pal.
I hope so.
Dave, anything to add?
Agree with all of that, definitely. I think you've obviously got to have a knowledge, haven't you? You've got to have a knowledge and understanding of the game, which is brilliant, but also that demanding, but in a good way, demanding off everybody, which rises everybody's standards. You know, you all want to get better, you all want to work harder, and I think doing it in the right way is what gets the best out of people. If you can get the best out of people, then you're going to have some success. But I think when you're inside it, you can see why, can't you?
Yeah,
you see the attention to detail, you see the knowledge, technical, tactical info, the high standards and the demanding nature is going to lead to success. So you can definitely see it when you're working with it.
We'll move on before his head gets too big. There's obviously also been a new coaching setup announced. Obviously, Yopa coming back, Mang's coming in, and Yanni as well. What does that look like now? What's it like for you guys?
I think it just allows us to probably delve into a bit more individual stuff and more unit-based stuff, and give players the kind of time probably deserve, don't they? We can work on little things that they need to improve on a little bit more. Just gives us a bit more time to focus.
It doesn't look. I said in my piece on that them bits being put out. Logistically, it doesn't look very very different. But in the same office, it just allows us to focus in more detail on bits that we might need to work on. I think one of the strength of our group is the ability to, like I say, be able to challenge each other, be able to tell each other, but be able to help each other as well. Because I suppose fundamentally in management, the end decision will always come down to me. But I would never make a decision without speaking to the people around me, and I'd rather come up with a decision that we're all happy about, and we all sort of, and sometimes you don't, sometimes you got to go, no, I think that's the way to go, but I think we're all pretty much on the same page about how that works. I think that's the strength of our group. All it does is allow for some ownership of certain areas, some accountability around some certain areas, to be able to get the best out of the players individually, and that's going to be something that we're going to have to do in order to make the group as a whole improve, and that includes us, by the way. That includes the importance of us getting better, because I said to the players, as much as we're sat in a room here and I think every single one of them's got something to prove around League One. I've never managed a League One game, so no one's got more to prove than me, and I'm quite comfortable with that. I'm quite happy with that.
Last question, and I'll come to each of you on it. Start the season's about 4 weeks away, League One, as you say. Where are we going to finish? What's the aim? What would you be happy with, I suppose? Start with you, Dave.
Thanks.
Let's start with you.
It's exciting, isn't it? And the biggest thing is it's exciting. It's a challenge, and we've got to get more out of everybody, like we just said. We've got to get more out of the players, more out of the staff, and we've got to win as many games as we can without sounding cliche. And I think we've got to enjoy the journey and see where we can get to, you know. But we're not just there making up the numbers, are we? We're going to be competitive, and we're going to be challenging, and see where it goes.
We need to be sat in this bar in 12 months' time in a better place than we are now, and that can be measured in loads and loads of different ways. Hence why we said about that staffing restructure. It's not a restructure. It's the staffing structure being put in place the way it is will allow us to say whether that's happened, because you could solely judge it on results on a football pitch, and that might mean that we lose, because we might finish 7th from bottom and we haven't improved the players, but we've stayed up, and is that success? Or is it the fact that we've pushed, we understand where we sit in the table and where we sit as a club, and know that we've got to probably outperform our budget by maybe 5 or 6 places to be able to get in the playoff, but it's a great challenge. Whilst also going, have we improved the players that we had from last year? So have we improved Ben and Fraser and Noyley and Ibby and Watts and all them people and Tanto, and have we improved and have we integrated the ones that we've brought in, the Bates and Mingies and Frevier and Diamond, and I've missed plenty, and I don't mean to miss them for any reason, but have we integrated them into a squad and made this group look different than what it did last year? Because I said the other day at the fan event, we've lost some brilliant players and some brilliant characters from our group, if you like, our successful group that has won 2 championships in 3 years and lost the playoff final on penalties. We've lost some brilliant characters and players from that, but I would hope that we've replaced them with equally as good people, and we've got to make sure that they become better players in order to benefit the group. As Dave said, it's really exciting, and we'd all hope. We've been fortunate. I always say I've been fortunate to have success. I don't want that to stop. We're all in this game for winning, and there's no better feeling. So fingers crossed that remains.
Absolutely, guys. Really appreciate your time. It's Friday night, so I'll let you all go and enjoy it, and hopefully we'll be back here in 12 months' time celebrating another successful season.
Thank you.
Cheers, Liam.
Thank you. Thanks.